Hi and welcome back to PlaymakerTV, episode 20. Today we are gonna do something very exciting, I think.
Yes.
Or it might not be that exciting since the last time we did it, when you simulated the Euro ahead of ahead of last summer, you got it right. And this time there's a part of me, Jesper, that doesn't want you to be right. And people will realize and understand why when you show this. But
Yeah.
first, how are you enjoying the Swedish summer? Because in New Zealand and Australia it's winter now. So let's just talk about how great it is with summer.
Yeah, it's very nice. I really enjoy it. I think this week in Gothenburg has been bad though, so that's not that great. But I had a great weekend, and we can talk about German summer. I had a great time at the Bodense Lake for 2 weeks before that. So no, but I really enjoy it. Like taking a run in the warm, like swimming in the lakes, and also watching games in a t-shirt as part of the job. So I watched Häcken men's team yesterday in the Champions League qualifier, like these summer games. It's super nice.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And Damallsvenskan obviously is on a break right now because of the World Cup.
Yeah.
What we are going to talk about in this episode is your simulation of the World Cup,
Yeah,
predicting the winners and
exactly.
predicting obviously the groups before you announce the winner. And then we are going to talk about the Damallsvenskan because it has been a special first half of the season because we have played 17 games. That's a lot of games ahead of the World Cup, which
Yeah.
also means that since the Swedish national team have players that plays in the Damallsvenskan, they haven't been able to like be together, the whole team until now.
Exactly.
That's one thing. We are also going to show Playmaker's new platform for scouting and football analysis, which I can say I'm very happy about because I'm not a data scientist like you. I don't do codes. I don't do Python or R. But this platform is unique. One of few in the world, I would say,
Yeah.
that will create the graphs for you and make you look like a pro, even though you aren't. You
Exactly.
just
And
have to you just have to know stuff about football data.
I would be so replaceable soon. No, but it's. I'm really
I
excited
doubt.
for the release. Like we already released it a bit with customers and friends and partners trying it out, like Mia, and it's going to be loads of fun. And it's like the idea of the platform is really that you shouldn't be able to do any coding, but you should be able to control the content yourself, do the visualization you want, control the data set, and everything that I do when I program. So it's going to be exciting to watch, and we'll do it a little bit later in the episode. So if you're seeing this, I hope you don't fast forward and watch the World Cup simulation, because you can make some money now. Don't place.
People are gonna be so they're gonna be furious with you if this is wrong now when they go to the betting companies and everything.
Exactly.
But we are gonna start with your data simulation of the World Cup 2023.
Exactly.
And first, before we jump into it, you're gonna explain how you simulate a tournament like this.
Yes.
Because this is just data, and this is where I'm gonna like argue with you when you show who you think will do good or not
That's
good.
that's exactly right. So I believe you can see the screen. You can see our avatars.
Yes.
Yes. So before I switch side, the simulation is, I've done it, like I built this during COVID when I was unemployed before I started working at Playmaker a couple of years ago. And then I, of course, tuned it and made it better. And when I started working at Playmaker, I got access to even better data to use in the simulation and so on. So the simulation is actually, it's taking opponent A and opponent B, and it's using, for national teams, it's using the ranking when it comes to ELO points and FIFA points of like how the team has performed earlier. And it's also using player data on like how well players that could be in the squad are performing at the moment, and also the depth of it. So not only if you have like a few stars, that could be a weakness compared to maybe big nations like England, Spain, Germany, France, that has like a lot of good players. And then it puts that together and it weights the team like who is the stronger ranked team here. And then it randomizes a production of expected goals, that is chances. And then from that expected goals, the team scores goals. So basically, if Germany has 3 in expected goals, Costa Rica has 0.5 in a game, is an example. And that Costa Rica could win with 2-0 with 0.5 just in a normal game, but that's less likely. And if you simulate that game 10,000 times, 100,000 times, whatever, you will get a likely outcome. So that's what I do. I simulate all the games based on that 1,000, 10,000 times until the simulation converges and reaches a result, and then I get an output. And what I think is cool with this simulator, if I can brag for a bit, is that for the Women's Euros last year, it got all the semi-final teams right and the correct winner with England. And in the World Cup for men, it got it didn't get Morocco, but it got the correct teams in the final and the correct winner. So that's I'm pretty proud about that. So with that said, it's going to go really bad in this tournament because I totally inked it. But
just do it, and we have to tell the ones that watch us now that you talk about 10,000 times, 20,000 times. How many times have you simulated this World Cup
I think this,
to get your result?
I think this converged around 23,000 simulations or something like that.
Okay.
So yeah, that's a lot of tournaments.
So this is for people to realize that if this World Cup would be played 23,000 times, this is
the most likely outcome.
Yeah, this is you talk about that just because you're like you play it safe now. Most likely.
So when I'm bragging, it's actually like you could also say that if my simulator was the complete truth, like of the future, the last World Cup for men and women's had the most likely outcome. But if you have a simulator that produces a very correctly the most likely outcome, and you use it for just for fun or betting service or whatever, or like just for evaluating your squad as a team, or I don't know, you will have good knowledge stepping in. So
we just rip the Band-Aid and do this.
Yes, so we'll go through
Group A.
Go through the groups. The first group with one home field advantage, something that's also included in the simulation, like how much historically have a women's team had in a tournament when they've been playing at home.
Can I just add something to this right now?
Yeah.
Because New Zealand, I think this is their 6th World Cup.
Yeah.
They will be playing, and they have never reached the knockout stage in the tournament.
Yeah.
And if they don't reach the knockout stage in this tournament, they will be the first host of the tournament that doesn't do that. Just a little something.
Yeah,
to add.
Exactly. And they won't. No, we'll see. They could. They could because it's actually pretty tight. Like in this group,
yeah,
it's one of the most even groups. You will see later that a lot of the groups have like a very likely outcome, at least according to my simulator. And but in this case, like New Zealand are just third. Philippines shouldn't be in the race, according to my simulator. They have still a 10% chance or 12%, so like 1 in 10 tournaments. Norway and Switzerland are really like just ahead New Zealand, and I think that's a lot of it comes from the home field advantage that New Zealand will have, the audience in their back, and also like it could be all about New Zealand if they win Philippines, where they are the favorites. It's just about one game maybe that they have to like beat or play a draw against Switzerland or Norway. So like, and that's something you have to remember, that even though you could sit at home and think like, well, USA are so good, there's a lot of room for coincidence in a World Cup compared to simulating the entire Women's Super League. Like then you have 22 games. In the World Cup, it's just three games in a group stage. It's just one game in a knockout. So there's a lot of room for coincidence to actually have a big output or affect the results a lot.
Yeah.
So for New Zealand, it's all about beating Philippines and then just focusing on how can we beat Switzerland or how can we beat Norway.
Yeah. I think Norway will want to have revenge on the outcome for them at the Euros last summer.
Yeah, and I think Norway are in this simulator maybe a bit down due to the fact that I think like they're lifted by the fact that they have a lot of like world-class players, no doubt, but like the results lately are dragging them down. So like the potential, you could say, from at least the offense, it's skyrocketing, but like the results is like, so it's the simulator has like, yeah, I know they are saying there's an underlying potential here to be really good.
you could say that. Like, and also just to add before we move on, that I was very impressed by Norway when they played France.
Yeah.
Back in February, I think it was. They at that point, Norway didn't have Ada Hegerberg or Carolina Graham Hansen. And for those of you that don't know who Ada Hegerberg is, she's a striker in Lyon, multiple Champions League winner on the women's side. And Carolina Graham Hansen is a winger on the right-hand side in FC Barcelona, who won the Champions League this season.
Yeah.
They didn't have those two players when they played against France. And that's interesting because you can start to think that, okay, was that good for Norway? Or will they be even better when they have them at the World Cup?
Yeah.
Just a small adding to that as well. But let's move on.
Let's move on to Group B. So Group B is one of the groups where you have a likely outcome, or like, and I think that most people sitting at home also expect Australia and Canada to go through. And here is like the simulator, like in the output, they expect Canada to be a better team than Australia. Everyone doesn't need to agree, but Australia is lifted by playing at home. And so, yeah, who will win? We'll see. And I don't know, like the biggest odds of an upset for like Ireland and Nigeria, for them, it's the same way, like win the game when they meet each other and then try to win one of the games against Australia or in Canada.
We're going to add soft values to every group as well now, Jesper, not just data. You are going to think about this when you watch these teams play now, because here's the thing. Nigeria and Canada, they have problems with their federations going into this World Cup. There's a lot of things going on around those teams. Canada has a federation who actually, it's been talks about them going bankruptcy. So a lot of financial problems in the federation, not just, what you would expect
No.
to hear when you're going in to play a World Cup as the Olympic gold medal winners in Tokyo 2021. That's one thing. The other thing is that Australia, out of their squad, 23 players, 10 or 11 have been injured during the season. Not a lot of playing time for them. And it's big names, like in Australia. I'm not gonna ramble them all through, but people need to know that. With Ireland, it's very interesting because the other day, Vera Pau, who is their head coach, said that we got no injuries. As of today, we're fully fit to play. So just something out of, like, this is soft values and things that going on around, but this is what I think makes this group very interesting.
Definitely. And there's like one thing about the World Cup is that there's always upsets, and that's what I love with national football.
Exactly. Moving on.
I think this was the group that you shared on Twitter today.
It was.
And
there's a reason for that people will realize when we're done.
Okay. Yeah. I don't think this comes from as much of a coincidence either to have like an equal split. Like what you can see is that Japan and Spain are even more favorites than Australia and Canada, and most of that comes from the simulator believing Costa Rica and Zambia to be weaker teams than Nigeria and Ireland.
Which is also very interesting because Zambia, they actually won against Germany a few days back.
Yeah.
3-2.
Yeah.
So, but like we are talking about simulating games here 23,000 times, and I'm pretty sure that Germany would not lose against Zambia that many times.
Maybe 22,430. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, something like that. But Zambia is, I mean, a team. If you want to watch, they have a great striker, Barbara Banda, who plays in China, in Wuhan, if I'm not mistaken. So keep an eye out for her. Also, the fact is that Spain, they are also going into this tournament with a lot of things going on around the team, within the team. And people who follow football closely, you know the rivalry between Real Madrid and Barcelona. And there's a lot of drama around that. And it all comes down to one thing, and that's their head coach, Jorge Vilda.
Yeah. And one thing
we're not going to go into that deep because then I will just get angry. So.
And one thing that is in the simulator as well is that the simulator it takes in like how well the players has performed according to the Playmaker grade, but it doesn't do it like to the like necessarily players that will start or the players that are in the squad. It more looks at like which players are the best in the data Playmaker has, and how big of a team can they assemble, and then also like the simulator simulates injuries, so it also simulates the fact that your best player is injured in the first game and then out of the rest of the tournament, but that doesn't happen every time. Like that's a very random thing for all teams, but it could happen. So for Haiti, for example, I don't remember now, like is this their first tournament, or like how many tournaments have they been in?
Good question.
Yeah, I'm showing my lack of knowledge here, but they have like some really like still some very high quality players that is added in here.
Yeah.
But yeah, this England are like big favorites. Denmark just behind, but the same as the groups before. Like there's a likely outcome, but apart from groups B and C, it's not a big difference, but England are seen more as a favorite to win the group. So like England should be expected to win, but still Denmark are good. There could be an upset, but like England are favorites.
Haiti, it's their first tournament, by the way.
That's what I thought, but I wasn't brave enough to say it because I hadn't checked it up. Next, Vietnam, also one of the teams with the weakest odds here. Portugal, I maybe thought they could have a bit higher, but not according to this. Like it's Netherlands and United States. There are big favorites to go through, but I mean, it's two very good teams. What
Vietnam, they are also making their World Cup debut.
So a huge tournament for them.
Yes, I would say that. And I would also say that, like, I think we will like expect the USA to go far, no matter what.
Yeah.
Because of their names, like.
Yeah. And this is the most. This is the most what do you say, uneven group, or like most likely group to have two teams go through in odds. Brazil and France, and they are very tight of who could win. Group G, similar again. Italy and Sweden way ahead. Argentina and South Africa. Also, Italy is one of the teams in the simulator that the simulator thinks is the time when they could take it to the next level in the tournament. What do you say? Like not necessarily like a big favorite to reach the semifinal, but they think that the underlying potential of the players is pretty good, and they could make it.
A little bit like Norway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm hearing that Argentina have a very good double pivot in the midfield.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch Argentina.
Yeah, I'm very excited to watch those midfielders actually. So it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah.
And obviously this group is slightly more out of interest for us because we are Swedes.
Yeah.
As you can hear when we try to speak English, but
and also like
this is a big tournament for Sweden.
And I expect Sweden to win the group, but I'm nervous, but I expect them to win the group. But what it bothers me the most is the play of three, and that it's going to be a hard way to reach the final later. Group H, last but not least, is a special group because a lot of groups have had there's been a lot of groups with like two clear favorites, two teams more likely to miss. And there's been like with the Group A with New Zealand, where you had like three teams being more likely to pass and one team being completely out with Philippines. But this is a group where Germany they are having the highest number of any team in any group to go through. Like 9 out of 10 times Germany will reach the last 16. But here we have three teams. Korea is a bit of a favorite, but here we have three teams with that will fight for one spot. So this is a group that I look forward to watch. Like Colombia is, besides Argentina, one of the teams that I'm most looking forward to like see play. And a lot of like this from a European standpoint with like the Euros recently, and like you watch more European players in the leagues. So
yeah, and this is also an exciting group because these three teams that aren't Germany, they can grab steal points from each other.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I take it that this is why the simulation looks like it does as well.
Yeah.
But Germany, like we said before, they lost to Zambia just a few days ago. So I think also to add something out of knowledge for people is that I think Germany's backline is what either is gonna like make them succeed, or fail completely. Because you could, I mean, obviously it was a friendly game and it was ahead of the tournament. And you and I talked the other day about the fact that you know, people shouldn't, maybe they shouldn't like take the friendly games ahead of the World Cup so seriously in a way, because when you go back and look at the big tournaments, and we can just take Sweden for example, ahead of the World Cup in France 2019, they weren't even close to winning against Germany at Friends Arena in April. When they played them, and then it was a lot of talk about all this, how we're going to beat the German ghost when they meet again in the quarterfinal. So, and then they beat them. So this is what I do think, that people don't have to be upset about how teams play before this tournament, because we have seen it so many times that you can play so bad ahead of the tournament and then you go into the tournament and you go into your little bubble and you have like no injuries, no sicknesses. You can play the same starting 11 for every game, and you can rotate because you kill off the games as you should, and stuff like that. And that is what, those are also factors to make it. So yeah, but okay, show us the outcome of the tournament now.
Yes. And one thing I want to say before is that compared to a league when everyone plays each other 2 times, the likeliness of winning the tournament is not only like a pure power ranking saying the team that has the highest likeliness is the best team, like from the start. It's also very affected by like the playoff tree, because in a national team we know that if Spain is going to win, they have to go this route. They have some likely opponents, but they have to go this route. Germany has to take this route, or they have two options. So like they have a very big likeness of facing different teams, and you can fill in there, Mia, with like what you think has affected in that sense. So we have this outcome. So Spain is the favorite in my simulator to win. And I think that's interesting because that would be something special. But like it says, like Spain has, according to the simulator, the best players to choose from, and they had very good numbers in the Euros last time. Like according to the data in the simulator, Spain was the second best team in the Euros behind England, but they came to quarterfinals and lost to England. So like it's a lot of like things underlying here that speaks in Spain's favor. Then I don't know if the playoff tree, considering with whatever, but like Germany and England, United States, France. And one thing I want to say as well, for me that has done these simulations a lot of times, is that it's pretty like even in different like areas. And Spain's a bit of a favorite, but then it's like super even with United States, England, Germany, France. Like they have very similar numbers, and also like that the favorite has around 12%. When I simulated the Euros before, Sweden and England had around 17-18% of winning ahead of the Euros last year, and so it's a very even tournament according to the simulator. And I think that's also fun. It's like nice to have that sense. And also one thing that I think is interesting is that the simulator, like Sweden has dropped. We were like the favorites. The second to favorites behind England in my simulator for the Euros, and now Sweden has like dropped to being more of a team that is like behind the bigger favorites but leading ahead of the more of the underdogs that could go all the way, but it's less likely. And then I'm talking about Canada, Netherlands, Japan, and Australia. That's teams that I would say, according to the simulator, could go all the way, but they could also like drop in the last 16. But like if everything is right, they could go all the way, and then even more less likeliness for like Norway and Denmark for that happening. But then we're maybe more speaking about reaching the semifinal or something like that.
Yeah.
But they still win it, and like when you see the simulator, like and when I simulated this 22,000 times, all teams win the World Cup once, except from Philippines, Vietnam, and Argentina.
Oh, I mean, that's quite. I think
that may sound crazy, but that's
was
how,
a
that's
good
how it is.
mention. Was a good mention. And this is interesting because there are parts of me that I mean, obviously, I wish for the players in Spain to reach success because they have a lot of talent in that squad. Might sound a bit weird of me to say because I obviously want Sweden to win. But the thing is that if it goes like we think, then Sweden and Spain will meet in the quarterfinal.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. I've been talking about this. And if Spain would have had complete harmony in their team, like no problems and not the debate and arguments and everything that has been in the media about the federation and Jorge Vilda and the players who, because 15 of the players, they didn't want to be in the national team 6 months ago because of they didn't want to be in the environment that the Spanish Federation offered and with Jorge Vilda as a coach. We need to say that. And now I think it's about 12 of them back.
Yeah.
So just that is quite, I think that's a quite, it should create some friction, if you know what I mean. And when you reach a quarterfinal, you have been together for a long time.
Yeah.
Like, so you need harmony in the team to go out to perform and stuff like this. So this is where I'm hoping that Sweden will win a quarterfinal against Spain, because I do think that the Swedes will have that in the team.
Yeah.
And fingers crossed for no injuries in the Swedish squad, and that we can play the same backline now in the tournament, like with a like decided starting 11, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because that's what I think happened in Euros. Like the Swedes didn't have that. They got injuries and they had COVID and then you looked at England, who could play the same starting 11 every game. They did the same substitutions, like straight on. Like, I think it was Frank Kirby off for Ella Toon, and Ellen White off for Alessia Russo. You could see that. That wasn't the case in Sweden. Let's just leave it at that. And those who will watch this episode can either agree with Jesper's data simulation here. Will Spain win the World Cup 2023 in New Zealand and Australia? Or is this just like nonsense?
Exactly. And you correct me if I slip my tongue here, but it predicts then Spain to face Sweden. I didn't do a graph. I should have done a tree graphic. Maybe I can do it and put it out on Twitter later. But like Sweden will face Spain in the quarterfinal. That's what it predicts. Then Spain will face United States in the semifinal. And now we're talking about the most likely outcome. England will face Germany in the quarterfinal, and Germany is a bit more likely to go to the semifinal and face France.
Yeah.
So Germany against Spain is the most likely final according to the simulator.
Yeah. This is so delicious in so many ways. I have no words actually.
Yeah, and I
So
mean,
let's hope the
there's so
data
many.
is wrong.
Yeah, and I mean, like with the Euros being like 1 year ago, now it's just European teams. Like, there's so many games that was very recently that could be like the big. Like, I can see how TV could work with, like, this could go like viewing highlights from that game, and like if England faced Germany in the quarterfinal, it's the revenge for Germany to like beat England again. If England would go all the way and face like Spain in the final, it would be like the revenge for Spain from the quarterfinal in the Euros when Spain was really good, I believe, but like, yeah, went out in the
The thing is
overtime.
that Spain has always been very good.
Yeah,
They have always been a very, very good team. So
and I mean, it
what
was
we all wait for is them to just unleash.
yeah, and I mean, it was the same thing for the men's team. Like in the World Cup, they were like always good players. They didn't do it, and then in 2010 in South Africa, they did it. So maybe
Yeah.
for the women's team, New Zealand and Australia 2023 is their 2010 in South Africa.
But the thing is that I'm not sure it's good for women's football in Spain to win the World Cup. I know how wrong that sounds, but the thing is that if they win, then Jorge Vilda and the Spanish Federation, they also win. And I'm not sure if that's good or not.
We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see.
And we'll see if I'm right or completely wrong in August later.
Yeah. We
So
will
now,
be back.
now
will
we
be
will
back
talk.
with that.
Now we'll talk about Damallsvenskan. 17 games played, and we will have a break now until after the World Cup. So for that reason, we have done, or I have done, based on the Playmaker rank, I've taken out an 11 for best players. So 17 games played, 9 games left after the World Cup. So it's like, it's not really halfway through. It's more of 60% or something. And I did an 11, I think like 7 games in or something like that. I don't know how many watched it and how many players if you can remember how many players that are out and still in the team when we played like twice as much. So the 11 is here. And I remember almost exactly which players that we replaced. The defensive line is exactly the same, the 4 in the back, exactly the same. Goalkeeper swapped, but the goalkeeper that was in the team, the goalkeeper that was in the team is number 2.
And that was
Piteå's goalkeeper.
Samantha Leshnak-Murphy.
Yes. In the midfield, Rubensson was in the team before. She dropped. Fanny Andersson joined with Kuni Cross. Kuni Cross still in the team. Emmy Alanen still in the team. Skog still in the team. But then at the top, there's been a change for both the right side and the striker. Like Janogy was just outside the team then. She's in the team now. Winberg dropped outside. Vien's in.
So let's count now. How many players will play in the World Cup, Jesper, from the Damallsvenskan? Because this is interesting. This is the Swedish league, and we have 1, 2,
like in this 11,
3, 4, 5, 6 players out of 11 will play in the World Cup. And I'm gonna let you tell us who those 6 players are.
Putting me to the test.
Yeah,
so,
I do.
Rybrink and Andersson is not in the team.
Nope.
Hannavik, no.
That's correct.
So that's 3. 8 left. Fanny Andersson, no. Emmy Alanen, no.
Correct. I'm very proud of you, Jesper.
Thank you.
Yeah, good.
So I must say that Or I shouldn't say anything. I'm just great. No, I finished the test.
I think it's nice to see that we actually have a lot of players in this 11 that will play at the World Cup.
Yeah.
Because they play here in Sweden on a daily basis, and we are very happy about that we can get to see these great players in our league. So
Exactly.
I think some of them might not be here when these last 9 games are going to be played. But we're not going to talk about that now.
No, we're not.
We can talk about that after the World Cup.
So now we will. I'll continue to share my screen. You will see the inceptions here, and then I will go into Playmaker dashboards here, and finger crossed that this will go super good. So, what is this? So some of you that follow me on Twitter or Playmaker AI might have seen a lot of screenshots or like even videos from Playmaker AI's new webpage and our new product. So this is an upgrade, but also a switch of like what we believe a platform should be from our last platform. So from having the one platform, the old one that I showed like in episode 1, for example, to Playmaker AI now having 2 platforms with the scouting platform where you could like order player reports. You could order one and pay for one. You could or you could get like a monthly pay and pay per month to get like unlimited amounts of reports or like 10 per month. Or you could just pay to a cheaper price than paying for one report. You could pay for like 10 reports and use them whenever you want. So that's like the player reports, and you can also search for players and then like find players on the platform that you might investigate, or just order a report on your players in the team or players that you would like have scouted or whatever. And I've showed that in the previous episode as well. But this episode,
I'm gonna stop you now, Jesper, because we have the comments in the comment section.
Yeah. Nice that you see that, because I never see it.
I did this time, so I just wanted to make sure that we're with them, and we're happy to have. And this is like a fact that we have technical issues because I can join the chat, but I'm pretty sure you can. So just just say hi. This is what happens in real life and live streaming.
Oh yeah, so I see that
Alex Sinclair, he writes, or she, they write that if Germany and Spain are in the final, I will go with Germany to win. So this person, he doesn't agree with your data simulation,
and that's completely fine. Like
I don't either. So go Alex, go Alex.
Yeah, and I share for mostly Sweden and then another team.
Yeah.
Let's dig into the platform.
Yeah, let's go back to.
And please comment. It's very fun to answer your questions, and maybe there will be some like when I'm showing this platform, or I hope there will be questions. So whatever. This platform is designed to, as I talked about before, that you shouldn't like need to program, but you should be able to do like you should be able to control the data that we provide and do the visualizations you want, and like look at the games that you want, and not be locked into like just looking into one season because that's what we offer. You can watch the latest 5 games, or like generate you not be locked into like how we decide to design our spider for forwards. You can design your own spider for forwards, and that's what we will look into. So like at Playmaker, we say that we in our new platform we provide nothing, and that's why the Seinfeld clip is here. Like I'm really a little bit the generation after Seinfeld. I'm more the generation Friends, but you might recognize this clip, a show about nothing, and that's a little bit like we don't provide nothing, but we provide the opportunity that from an empty sheet, you as a customer should be able to do whatever you want with no rows of code. That's the idea. So
that's why I'm happy.
Yeah.
Like I told you in the beginning, like I know you. You're the smartest person I know because of that. But I'm very happy about the fact that I can actually create stuff in your platform.
Yeah, and that's what I hope everyone will come to enjoy. And we'll talk a little bit more about offers lately and how you could choose this. So I will just like step right into it, like just show an example first. So I have like prepared a dashboard here. It's called PlaymakerTV. So if we go into PlaymakerTV like this, now I'm coming into a saved dashboard. There will be some loading here. It just loads the data. So what you see here is Alice Bergström spider based on the KPIs that I've chosen. You see a heat map here. I named it AB heat map, but it's Alice Bergström's heat map. You also have a comparison here with Anna Sandberg. You also have a spider here that is just showing the average, but you could go in here and this is a team spider. So this is a team data set. So we could look at Djurgården here, and then you would have Djurgården spider next to Alice Bergström's.
We must also add here before you move on that these KPIs or metrics that you also can say about this, you choose them when you create the data set. So when Jesper speaks about a player spider or a team spider, you choose what you want to see from both, and there are lots of metrics to choose in this in this platform. Alice Bergström is a Djurgården player. She's very young, and I do think that people who has been following the Damallsvenskan this season actually won't be that surprised that her spider is looking like this.
No, she was very close to the 11. Like she has a super high grade. But what
I need to ask you something before we move on as well, because the average when you chose a player, when you create a spider here, it compares the player to all players in the Damallsvenskan, right? Not just like in the position she plays.
No, so right now this is a developing platform. It will be like, but right now it just compares her with all other players that have played more than 30% of the season. So like, and if you're not in that mix, it like puts you into that mix of players that have played so much. But I thought like this would just be a glimpse. Like, so this is just a dashboard that I have designed. So I made this myself. So this is just like when you go into the platform, it will not look like this. So when, therefore I will go back again. So I will go to data sets. You see here that I have a lot of data sets, not that many, but like I will probably have like a lot of pages. Like when I'm like now I delete them all the time, but you as a customer, you might have multiple pages of data sets. I have 2. So data sets is really, if you work with Excel, for example, data sets is your Excel sheet. So like you want to generate your own data set before you want to do a dashboard. So if you're doing a data set, you press here on create new data set, then you come into this. So at first you can name the data set something. So we could name it like episode 20 of PlaymakerTV, a great name. Then you can go into seasons. So right now we have an initial start of seasons, but we're adding every day and like we're putting up, and we have, if you want to know exactly what data we have access to, you can go into scouting where we have all the seasons. Now we're like, since it's not like, it's in initial mode and it's more like already clients that can connect and start using it, it's a bit less, but there's still, you can see seasons here. So then we can choose, for example, Damallsvenskan here. Then for the next one, we want to decide, do we want to have a player's data set or do we want to have a team's data set? So if you have a player's data set, you can also choose, do you want an aggregated data set or a data per game? And what does that mean? So aggregate is like per 90 stats. So that's more of like generating stats for all the players per 90. What's their average performance? Data per game, that is just like more building up an amount and being able to do like heat maps, shot maps, and so on. So like gathering all the actions and then be able to do visualizations, not on like maybe statistical averages, or more like how do people do things. So for example, then if we would like to do a defensive heat map or passes or whatever. So if we do passes, which is more of a possession heat map, we can then choose a player. So if we would go into here, we could search for a player, or like I could search for Janogy. Now I misspelled. And then in the next step, I would press save here. And then this data set will start to generate, and eventually, like very quickly in this case, it will be finished. So then you can go back to dashboards. You can go into PlaymakerTV. We can press a new tab here. Like maybe this one is like full. We could continue to scroll and have it deep. It's like whatever you prefer. I would like a new tab. I can then press on the heat map here. I can choose my data set, episode 20, which is a bad name for a Janogy heat map, but whatever. And then here is my Janogy pass heat map. I could control like, so this is a typical way of like, on our old platform, we might have decided that yeah, we're doing 16 times 12 zones here. But then Mia tells me, no, I want 8 times 6. Then I say, okay, Mia, whatever, control it yourself.
Yeah. Do as you please.
And then you can download it, and then she can send it to her Chelsea friend and say, hey, let's give Janogy a new chance to make it in Europe. Sign Janogy. No, I don't know. But then this is like this is like one case that you can do. Then maybe next to that, I would like a Janogy spider. So in this case, I prepared a data set, but we can save this. It can take like a little while, but then when you see the green one, you know it's saved. It's safe to go here to data sets. Then you can press create new data set again. We can just name it to stats here. I'm like just doing some weird names here. Then we still would like it to be then aggregate and players in this occasion. But what we want to do next is like, for now, we will take all the players that have been on the pitch for like, it could be 1 minute or 1,000 minutes. But let's say I want this is controlling the average. I said it was 30% before, but this is like controlling my average of the spider. So I would like it to be like 5 games. So you should have been playing at least 5 out of 17 games so far in Damallsvenskan. So then I can control it here. But if Mia says I want 8, put it at 8. Or I just want the players that have played 2 or more, whatever. Then you go into the KPI list here, and it's around 70 different KPIs. And then here you have a lot of different KPIs. I won't go through all of them because it would be a very bad show, but like they are in alphabetic order.
We will do a list and an explanation of them.
Yes, we will.
In time.
We will. And if you have any questions here in the episode or whatever, just reach out. I'll help you. But for example, one thing that I'm very proud of that I think is nice in the new platform is that before we had expected threat 90, and the passes and carries, but now also we have expected threat prevented, which is really which defenders are good in like breaking the opponent's chains in when it becomes dangerous, like who's the Millie Bright in Damallsvenskan, for example. And it shows you like which players are good at defending and defending when it gets dangerous, defending low. And then you have expected threat received, which is like which is the amount of expected threat that you as a player receive. So a player with high expected threat received is, for example, a player that is good in running deep or receiving a lot of balls like in the box, like acting as a target. We have expected threat only for set pieces. If you want to see which player is good at generating chances from set pieces, corners, free kicks. We also have expected threat assisted that I think we talked about in previous PlaymakerTV episode as well, and that's the Caroline Seger measure, like which are the players that are not necessarily doing like the deep and longer passes that or the dribbles like Eriksson Conry that makes a difference, but more like winning the ball, playing the ball short to a playmaker that then does the important thing. So they're like the start of a good possession chain, and they're necessary for another player to be creative. And then there's loads of more. But if we would like a data set here, we just select what we want. So we might want like aerials, challenges per 90, fouls percentage, non-penalty goals, passing to the box, whatever, and we press save. I won't do that in this case. Instead, we will go back to dashboards. We will go to PlaymakerTV. We will go to the tab 2. We will press spider here. We will select Damallsvenskan data sheet, which is player stats for players that have played 5 or more. We will then search for Madeleine Janogy, and there we have it. We have our spider. So now
that's how easy it is, folks.
Exactly.
Just want to say that. Yeah.
And then you can see, like, compared to other players, you get a sense of her role here. Like, Janogy has a very good expected threat received compared to other players, one of the highest values, and that comes from her receiving balls in the target, running deep. She's very good in the dribbles, key passes, touches in the box, shot assists. So that's a pass that leads to a shot. So assists and key passes together. So let's say we want to continue. So we would like to make a shot map of Janogy. Then we would go back in the same way, create a data set as we did with passes, but instead we would choose shots. For this one, the shot map is not a heat map, so it's a pitch plot. Might be, I don't know if Doggy4, but they are behind pitch plot. You press here, then I've already made a data set that's shots Janogy, and now it just loads straight away. You can hover over and you can see the expected goals value. And if you would do this for a team, you can see like which player that has done the shot, but now it's more of like, it just says Madeleine Janogy and that it's a shot, and the expected goals value.
Yeah, and this is also good that you explained, because when you download these as PNGs file, you don't get the explanation. So you need to know that the green ones, they are goals.
Yeah.
The red one is not. And you can see the XG value on the pictures when you have downloaded them.
No.
But you can get the information in the platform just doing what you did there.
Yeah. And let's say that for the next, so I talked about her having a very high expected threat received value. So let's say that we want to know, does she have the highest one? Because the spider doesn't necessarily mean she has the highest. She's like out there in the highest percentile, but it could be another player. So me as an analyst for Hammarby or whatever, just a supporter or something, I'll do a swarm plot here. I'll pick Damallsvenskan as well. I'll go here and I have all the KPIs that I've selected. I choose expected threat received 90, and now I get a swarm plot. So I find Madeleine Janogy in the data set here. And now I can see, okay, she's number 4. So she's number 4. One thing, a question that I typically get asked, that's a very good question, is like, what's the height here? So a swarm plot is a one-dimensional plot that shows the distribution of players. It could be a wave or something. We choose to do dots. And so the height here is just telling you, like, are you in the swarm or are you more outside? So Janogy is ahead of the swarm, but if you're here, you're like in the swarm. So it's more telling you of like how many players that shares the value. And if you're like up here or down here, it doesn't matter. Like if I would regenerate this plot, Lisa Klingan might go down here. So like the height doesn't have any, it just tells you like, are you having a value that is shared to a lot of other players, or are you like in your own league?
You could say it like this also. Yeah. This is how I would explain it, that if you're in the swarm, like really in the swarm, the big swarm, you're quite average in the league.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great way of telling it. So let's say here that I'm a scout for a women's Super League team. So I would like a player that is good in finding empty area in the box, like being good in finding free space, receiving the ball in the box, delivering it somewhere else, or perhaps just shooting. I'm looking for a target striker. Let's say that. Expected threats received is a great measure to find target strikers. So then I would just go, like, who has the highest value? Okay, it's Karin Lundin. Then we have Evelyn Vians. And then we have Tamberg here. So like for Vian's case, it's more maybe a lot of also from like running deep. That's something that like you wouldn't know from just this, but like you could have expected threats received from both running deep and receiving in the box like a target. So let's say that we're curious about Evelyn Vians. I'll save here. I'll do a new tab. I'll do a spider. You almost know this by now. I'll go here. I'll press.
She is the last name on that list, I can say.
Oh, there must be something with the string handling, like she's. There's an empty. No, it's the accent over the e, of course.
Yeah, I know.
So then
this is how much I've been playing with this list.
That's good. That's recently. Good. So now we have the spider here. And when we have the spider, we might want to go further. We can do a scatter plot. So I really like scatter plots to just mix around. So one thing that I think is interesting is that if we choose Damallsvenskan here, we could go into like dribbles per 90, and then we could choose expected threat carries. So here what it tells you here is that like we could mark Alice Bergström, for example, and we can do I don't know, whatever.
You need to take Evelyn Vians here.
Yeah, I'm afraid that I won't find her with the E thing here. We'll see.
She's not. Is she not the last name on this list either?
Oh, we'll see. There's so many players in Damallsvenskan, you know.
Yeah, I know.
And I see a ticket I will need to write for myself to do, but that's another thing, and it's like handling the list in the scatter. But whatever. Here we have her. Now we have her marked out here together with Alice Bergström. So what I did here is like this one thing that I usually look at when I look at wingers. So you have like dribbles per 90 and you have expected threat carries. Expected threat carries is like how much value you put into possession when you're carrying the ball. And when you're carrying the ball, you're usually eventually dribbling sometimes. So if you have a player that is like dribbling a lot, but not generating the threat, you could see that player, if you watch the player on video later, that the player maybe dribbles in unnecessary situations instead of passing, or it's very good in dribbling in some areas, but when it comes close to the box, it's not really the same picture. So you can see here with Evelyn Vians that she's very good technically, but she adds values like no one else. Like there's a trend curve here with Alice Bergström in the middle almost, but Evelyn Vians adds another level of threat to that. So she's like very good in dribbling in the right scenarios and improving for her team. And you could say that Emilia Larsson is not in the same way. But then, yeah, I mean, we can do more. Now you don't know what data set I created, yeah. But one thing that I think is funny is that you can look at XG per 90 and XG shot, for example. We can look at Evelyn EJ, a favorite player. So what you have here is like which players generate a high expected goals value, and also like what's their average expected goals value per shot. So we can neglect the players here because that they have really probably played not that much, and they have had a few finishes and they've been very close or so on. But you can see there's a trend line here. So the players up here, they are if they have a higher expected goals per shot like Emo has, then they're finishing like more often very close to the goal or like in the golden zone. But it can also be that they're finishing with no opponents ahead of them, for example. While as the players that has a lower expected goals per shot, they also shoot from outside the box. And I mean, like having a high or low expected goals per shot, that's not necessarily like a bad or good thing. It more describes the player. So like maybe a box player or striker has a higher value, but a winger like EJ, they could shoot both in the box, but also shoot from outside the box and make a difference. So it's more like describing the players where they shoot. And then you can use these values when you're scouting the player on site with video or whatever.
She scored in Sweden's under 23 game against China yesterday. Evelyn EJ, I can say. Very exciting.
And I think it's 10
for the future.
Yeah, 10 goals in Damallsvenskan this year. And we do the awards for best players in Sweden in the elite or professional women's and men's division. And Evelyn EJ got the prize of best forward in Elite Ettan, the second highest last year. So, and her dad was also a professional football player.
Yeah, and with that, we will not be surprised if we will see her receiving your award at the end of this season when she plays in the highest division, but we're not there yet.
I will show, just before we end, we show two more things. So first I will show the table. So I know like the idea of nothing is that you should be able to do whatever you want without coding, as I said. But there could be like the thing that, I know you like Tableau, Notebook. I want you to prefer Playmaker, but it could be that you like something else. Then you can generate a table like this with your data set, and then you can do export and then download it as CSV, and then you can do whatever you like with it in another platform.
This is for the coders out there, by the way.
Yeah, that's definitely for the coders.
Yeah.
Then you have in this this is a bit like our old platform. You just have all the stats that we've chosen, and you have them in a list. And what you can do now is that you can sort on aerials per 90 and like who wins the most aerials per 90. It's Vilma Leidhammar. You can also do something that I think is like nice, that you can pin something to the left, and we have team here in the opposite. We can pin it to the left, and then when we scroll, it just like it locks here. Yeah. So if I want to go here for entries into the box, I can scroll here and then sort. And entries into the box is passes and carries into the box. You can also like change the density of like how you want the table to look. If you want it to be brighter or less, you can go into filters and let's say that I changed my mind, so I want 750 minutes or more. Okay, now I did the wrong thing here.
Yeah,
equal to, larger than. So now I just regenerated a data set here with another minute value. So this is the table, and you can also like remove or hide columns or filter on the column here. Yeah, you can do a lot of things. So the last but not least thing I want to show is that I showed it briefly, but it's if you want to do a data set for a team instead. So we just do teams here, and this time we can do elite at done because we have elite at done as well for you scouts out there or teams. We don't, this one we could do it, but it's not like in a league, it's not as necessary because like the teams play the same amount of games usually. If it's a tournament, you might want to like remove the teams from the group stage or whatever, like the World Cup. But then you go to teams here, and then you get the team KPIs. And like mostly the team KPIs are similar to the players, except from we have some that are different, that are like amount of goals from corners, counter attacks. We have expected points value for like which team is the most likely to win and whatever. So then you can mark them here like this, and then you generate the data set in the same way. So really, like if you want to look at teams, if you want to look at games, you decide. And when you it's really up to you, and we will provide more like different details in these data sets later. We can do another widget here. We can do here, we can do bar, we can do teams, we can do expected points. So Alingsås just ahead of AIK. So this is another view, like if you want to prefer to have it in a bar way, you have a bar plot here. And the last but not least thing before we end with this, Mia, it's okay. So maybe Mia, you don't like the Playmaker colors, or like you want to have it in another way. So,
this is the most important thing, you say.
This is the most important thing.
Yeah.
So as a customer, if you become a customer, we provide you your own theme. So now I have the Sampdoria theme here because the founder and my dear friend Ola van Tomen, he is a Sampdoria supporter, so he's made it here. But if you're working for any team, any club, or even like an agency or a networking or TV company or something, we get your own theme. So when you export the tables and everything, you don't need to do any InDesign work in the best way. So like you get it in your colors. Yeah. So a small thing, but I think it's quite nice.
I'm going to try that out tomorrow.
Yeah, we will get the Mia theme. You can decide.
Yeah, exactly. Well, with that being said, we're going to end this show. And this is our last show before our summer break.
Yeah.
Actually, we will be back after the World Cup to see if Jesper was right, or his simulation rather was right about Spain winning the World Cup. So have a great summer to you, Jesper, obviously. And we'll see you after the World Cup.
Yes. Great summer for everyone watching. If you miss us or have any questions, reach out on Twitter. Subscribe to the channel, and take care. Bye-bye.